We've just found this gorgeous Mercedes 220, and Matthias, I am loving this interior. What do you reckon?
Well, I'm stunned. Actually, I didn't notice it before, and by opening the door and looking at it with you, I'm really impressed. Everything is correct. All the chrome trimmings are here, all the leather is correct. There's a great patina on the seats. And when you look at inside, the color combination, I believe, is fully original. This car, I trust, must have come from Switzerland, because I see some service stickers from the Swiss service stations.
Very well spotted, Matthias.
Well, you have to look at those details, and there's also a German-written license tag on the front windshield. So I believe this car must have come from Switzerland. It's a beautiful 220S, one of those Mercedes Sport Coupe that Mercedes did in those late 50s, early 60s. Stunning car, fully original. I have to start the engine. You take the Nissan and I take this.
I think that's what we've got to do. I'll tell you what though, this is when wood in cars was actually wood. There's like a tree in here.
There's probably a good half of a tree indeed. I mean, it's beautifully done when you look at how the wood trimming just sweeps into the dashboard. Very, very elegant car. You could see yourself driving this any day.
Lovely. Yeah. Bling wheels, a lurid green foil. It's a great car, but tell me, Matthias, does this really classify as a classic car?
You know, I guess you could. Look at it this way. It is a perfectly straight-bodied Mark IV Lincoln, okay? A rare car, also, sorry, a very iconic car. Now, what the owner did here, he wanted to, you know, make it a bit more of a custom modern look. So it is not per se a classic, original classic, but it's a valid custom. He gave it a matte green paint, which I believe in fact is foil.
I think it's
great
foil,
because you can remove it anytime. I put a new set of wheels on it. Car looks great. Why not?
Do you think that's an important part of the classic car scene? Do you think it's a way of enjoying your classic car by being able to say that, well, I'm going to have a little bit of fun with this?
Absolutely. Absolutely something you can do. The only thing that you have to be careful is don't portray it as an original car. You see, with the classics you have two choices. One of them is you leave them as is, or you restore them in a perfect condition as they should be, or you can have a little bit of fun, customize them. Remember the hot rod era?
Yeah,
that was
absolutely.
the beginning of all customization.
Yeah, and we're going to have a look at one of those later on. I'll tell you what though, I do remember, I think I had a dinky model of one of these, but I did paint it. I think I borrowed my mom's lipstick and painted it, but I don't think I painted it quite this color.
I hope you didn't.
Gull wing doors, look at this thing. I'm pretty sure I drew one of these as a kid. I'm not even sure what it is though. Maybe you can help us, Matthias. What is this?
Well, indeed, Sharjah, this reminds me of my youth. I remember reading in custom magazines and Popular Mechanics, particularly Popular Mechanics, they featured this car a lot. There's a reason behind it. This car was built by an American investor who wanted to make cars safer for the drivers. And it's called the Bricklin from his name, the SV1. It was very much an experimental vehicle. What they did in the concept was, particularly in the late 70s, you know, they built this big cars, and in fact they were not very safe. So what he realized is that cars needed to have crash zones. And he experimented this with this vehicle, which has an aluminum body, very sophisticated, cleverly built crash zones on a fiberglass light body. Again, keeping the weight light, giving the car better roadability and handleability. Came out this vehicle. He put in it a big Ford engine, very powerful. The car's design was probably not the most spectacular.
I was going to say, I mean, for a car that's designed around safety, it's a bit contradictory, isn't it? Powerful Ford engine at the front, but also these gull wing doors are not necessarily the safest thing to have, for example, if you flip the car over, are they?
Well, indeed. Well, no, the car is not supposed to flip over. I think Mr. Bricklin didn't see it this way.
I've seen some of the people driving here. I think, you know, they do, yeah.
But the idea really was to build an experimental vehicle with high safety ratings. And unfortunately, the car did not rate as high as Mr. Bricklin was hoping.
No,
but nevertheless, this
so.
is an icon of our modern automobile heritage. It's worth looking at.
Absolutely brilliant. So Matthias, we're sitting in this car. This is called the Red Baron, and we know it quite well, don't we? Because we know the owner. And this is basically a 1927 based Model A, I believe, isn't it? And it's a hot rod with, I think, a 67 motor up the front, and of course a skull at the top of the transmission. Makes you worry about the owner, doesn't it, a little bit? But I'll tell you what, aside from these great cars, what did you think of this exhibition? And as a classic car enthusiast, do you reckon they've done a good job this year?
Look, I think they've done a stunning job. There's a lot of effort that's been put behind it, and the organizers have to be praised for that. I think the classic car community is slowly waking up. They're realizing the value of having a car, the honor, really the pride of having a classic car and keeping the automobile heritage alive is very important, and it's very well shown in this show, where you have the wide spectrum of cars from a very original Rolls-Royce Silverclad or Silver Dawn, even there's I think a 1924 Buick up there, beautiful car, down to a hot rod or some very modified cars, which are what you call the custom classics.
Do you think it's a good idea to have the cars out here like this? I mean, one thing I do worry about, and I've seen this based on past experience at the Sharjah show, once the crowds are here on the weekend, these cars are fully exposed. Do you think maybe there should be some sort of barrier, or do you think it's good to expose these cars to the public?
Well, you see, from experience, we look at it in the US and Europe, we actually don't put barriers around the cars. We let the public approach it because the public has that education not to touch the cars. I think here, we should also let them approach the cars, perhaps having somebody looking after them, making sure, explaining to them, please don't touch the car, it's a rare piece, it's an original paint or whatever it is. But putting the cars inside a barrier is like locking them into a vault or a museum.
I tell you what, the one thing about this show is definite. It has inspired me to go out and think about buying a classic car. I can't wait for next year. What do you reckon?
I'm not waiting, I'm actually keeping this hot rod.
Sorry, Gaurav, we're off.